Hey, what is up, guys? This is Jacob here with Spartan One, and today I'm going to talk about a super powerful topic, which is time mastery through gamification. So, when we look at, first of all, this badass room that I'm in right now, this is our family game room. We're a big hunting family, so we've got a lot of crazy stuff in the background. But what we're talking about is basically when you look at mastering time through gamification, what you're doing is you're taking an element or a resource that every single person has the same amount of, and you're starting to leverage it at a higher capacity. So when we talk about gamification, what that is if you have a large goal, right? Something that's big, something that will take time to accomplish, what we need to do is break that goal down into smaller, more achievable goals that we can implement on a daily basis, right? So when we look at smaller goals that we set for ourselves, what we want to do is make those palatable enough to where we can take daily action on those. And where the element of gamification comes in is when we start to track what days we do those goals, and we can even add dimensions to it, like the efficacy or the percentage achieved during that daily action, and track that over a long enough period of time, we can accrue data on those small goals, and then we can continually compete with ourselves to improve our statistical scores on the accomplishment of those small goals. So what that does is it not only makes those smaller goals fun, it gives them meaning and purpose and adds a layer of competition with yourself that creates velocity in whatever we do. So when we look at starting to track our time and how we gamify goals, what we want to do is basically set an alarm every hour on the hour and just kind of review what we did over that hour, right? Because I'm guilty of this. Sometimes you'll have an hour where maybe you just got caught in the social media vortex and you really just kind of blew that out. But that's totally fine, right? As long as we understand where we're at, then we can prioritize new visions for the future and articulate what a better outcome would be. And now when we statistically track our time and we just write down maybe 2 or 3 things that we did, we can start to develop a mental construct in our mind of what that perfect hour would look like, right? What is the most leveraged activity I could do during that hour? Say it's, I have to make follow-ups with leads or something like that, right? Well, then you start thinking about it from this perspective. If I have an hour to follow up with leads, I could maybe follow up with, 60 leads in that hour. Now, what if I were to find a virtual assistant who could follow up with those leads? And then maybe I was to add 2 or 3 virtual assistants to my calendar and manage them, right? Now it's the same hour, whereas I'm doing the work output of one person accruing basically, 60 leads, following up with 60 leads. But now in that same hour, what if I were to manage 2 or 3 people who could follow up with 60 plus leads in of themselves? So now when we look at time through that framework, we can add the element of leverage and really start to understand, if I put myself in these positions to where I can compound my activity to much higher and higher levels, what is achievable? And this is how we really scale our effectiveness and our efficiency, by leveraging time to put ourselves in the most productive spots. And then that element of gamification is really fun, because once we start tracking what we're doing during that time, we start to really understand and prioritize what we want to spend that time on, right? Because if we spend an hour just kind of goofing off, that's a reward in of itself. But now when it's compared to, well, if I spend this hour with this mechanism or this system or this process in place, that reward can pale in comparison to a much larger reward that can be allotted for us efficiently navigating our time correctly. So it's never about like beating ourselves up for wasting time, right? The only way to put out an oil fire, if they talk about oil rigs and like when an oil fire goes crazy, is they actually have to create a bigger explosion next to it to suck all the oxygen out of that oil fire. Same thing is done for, procrastination or anything like that, right? If we have something that's giving us an immediate reward, the only way to get rid of that is to have something that has a much more exponential phenomenal reward by leveraging and navigating our time better, so that we're actually gravitationally pulled to that bigger reward. So it's not such a big deal to sacrifice the smaller thing in the first place. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is really understanding our time, tracking it, gamifying it, and making it an enjoyable process to refine and optimize ourselves so that we can go forth in life and absolutely crush it. Now, if you like the video, check out Spartan1Elite.com for more time-saving content. Additionally, we do have some spots open for the Spartan 1 Elite program. If you're interested, there's a link in the description to apply for that. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.